All right, people, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another episode of our RPG series. In this one, we're going to begin our combat system. We'll not finish it in this one, but we'll begin it. So the combat system, I think we'll make it a 3-parter or maybe 2. We'll see how it goes, but I don't want to rush through it. So we're going to do a lot of stuff. We'll do it here, but depending on how much time we have left, we could push some stuff to the next episode. So in today's episode, the first thing we're going to do is to create a weapon type. So what do I mean by a weapon type? We're going to create what we call a scriptable object, right? So a scriptable object basically is more like a data container in C#. So it's, in Unity, I mean, it's going to be what we're going to use to store weapon data. All right, it's going to be what we're going to use to store weapon data, and we'll use a lot of scriptable objects for different things. You'll see how we'll be integrating them. So at least you can also get to know how to use scriptable objects. It would have been so much easier to say we'll just create sword objects like prefabs and then manually put in the damage and stuff. But I want to do this in a kind of way that makes it a bit modular, so that it's not just like a beginner tutorial series, but it's more like some things that I personally do. So we're going to deal with scriptable objects in this episode. So the first scriptable object we're going to create is going to be a weapon type. So weapon type will be the weapon manager that we created in the previous episodes will be managing. So rather than us collecting data about our weapon from hard coding it in, we'll create multiple weapon types which have got multiple weapon objects then that we can equip. All right, so let's get into the C# part of it. Very, very simple, very, very straightforward. So we're going to go to our player controller. Then we're going to create a new folder here so that we keep things nice and neat. We're going to call this combat system. Okay. In here, we're going to create a new C# script. We'll create a new C# script that we are going to call weapon type, like that. Okay, so that's it. The next thing will be to open it and then look at how we create scriptable objects. Okay, so we're gonna open up our weapon type C# script. Actually, let's change this. Let's not make it weapon type. Let's make it the weapon object, the actual object. So we're gonna say weapon object, so that the type is what we're going to use when anyway, you'll see. Let's say weapon object. All right, so change the script name from weapon type weapon object. We're going to use the weapon type for something else. We're going to change weapon object. Okay, all right, let's close that. Then let's open up that weapon object script. We're going to change a few things here. So it's not going to be a mono behavior script, because it's not going to have any behavioral logic. It's going to be of type scriptable object. So now we don't need the start or the update in here. Instead, what we need is some properties. So the first thing that we're going to have is an enumeration. So we're going to say public, oh my goodness, public enum, and this will be our weapon type. Okay, public enum weapon type. And what we're going to have in here is a sword, right, like that. Then we're gonna have a bow, So for our bow logic, and we're gonna have an X for like our X logic. Those are the three weapon types that we go. Weapon class. All right, let's say weapon class. Yeah, let's create a weapon class like that. So is it a sword? Now let's go with type. Let's go with type. Weapon class means that right. So it's going to be a sword, it's going to be a bow, it's going to be an axe. Then from there, once we create that enum, we're going to have public weapon type, and then we're going to call this not type but more like weapon type, like that. So if you've got other weapon types that you want to have in your own game, you can just add them there. Otherwise, you can just follow along. Then we're going to have the public integer for our weapon damage. So each weapon is going to have particular damage that it can inflict. All right. Then we're going to have a public sprite. So public sprite, and this is going to be our weapon image. So if you've got an image for your weapon that you want to display, this is where we're going to put it. And then finally, we're going to now have a public game object weapon object. So this is the actual weapon itself that we're going to be equipping, like the actual model. So that's where the model is going to go. So up here we're going to, because we want to create these assets in our editor, we're going to put square braces there and say create asset menu, then open parentheses, then you're going to say menu name is equal to, okay, we're going to say let's see, weapon, right? Then I'm going to say slash weapon slash melee. Yeah, let's say no, not melee, because we've got all of them. So let's just say, all right, let's say custom slash weapon. So we're going to say custom menu, then we're going to have weapon on the other side, like that. Okay, so we're going to have custom and then weapon. Okay, so this is it for our scriptable object. So it's just going to be a container that contains this data that we can then apply to a weapon object. So each weapon object will have different parameters that dictate how the behavior of that weapon is in game. Okay, so let's go back into the editor here, create a new folder. We're going to call this weapons, like that. Then inside our weapons folder, we're going to create a new, you'll see this menu here has shown up called custom, and then we've got weapon on that side. So we're going to go to custom and then weapon. Then we're going to call this our sword, like that. So on this side, we've got our parameters. So it's a weapon type, it's a sword weapon, so it's not an axe or anything. Do we have a sprite? We don't right now, but we can give it its damage. So let's say it's able to deal 15 damage. Then for the game object, let's now look for, let's just, if you click this little lock here in the inspector, this particular properties will not be replaced when we move around our folders. So we can go and actually look for a weapon. So we're going to come to PBR, not textures, not materials, swords, and then we're going to come to sword. Which one are we using here? That should be 3, this guy. So we're going to bring this guy right there, like that. And that's our first weapon done without the sprite. We do not have an image yet, so it's fine. We can leave it as is. Then what we're going to do now is to come over to the sword here, so we can unlock this. So this yeah, right here on this sword, we're going to go back first of all and create another script so that we can be able to reference our weapon object. So we'll come to combat system, then we're going to create a new C# script inside the combat system, which we are going to call now our weapon type. So we're going to look for that weapon object script in our weapon type script. So in here is what we're going to do. It's going to be of type mono behavior. It's not open. Let's open it up. It's going to be of type mono behavior. But what we're going to do here is that first things, let's remove that comment. We're going to have a public weapon object, and we're going to call it weapon, right? Public weapon object weapon. Then we don't need the update because it's not going to be doing any updates, but it's not going to be running every frame. We just need to run at the start. So in the start function, we're now going to set our properties. So we're going to say weapon dot weapon type, okay, is equal to weapon object. So it's going to be, let's call this weapon obj, like that. So no, let's leave it like that. Okay, let's just say, yeah, let's say weapon obj dot weapon type is equals to weapon so it's going to be equal to, yeah, it's going to be equal to weapon object. Actually, since we've already set it there, we do not need to put this part here because we've already set it. But if you haven't set it and you want to set the enum, you can set it right here. So if you have put this script on a weapon that is being picked up, for instance, and you do not set it, you could set it here. But the other things that we're going to set, so you can actually set stuff like weapon obj damage. So we had set it to 15. We could change it here and say 10. Then we could also say, we could also put the weapon name, the weapon game object itself right here. But we're not going to. We're just going to set this guy to 10 so that we just have a slight change, because everything else we've already set it in our weapon here. We've already set everything that we need. So the weapon object has already been set. The damage, the weapon type, everything has been set. So inside this sword, we're going to now come here and add our weapon type script, which is going to require a weapon object item. So we're going to drag this sword here, slap it there. So all the properties of this scriptable object are now on this sword here. So that's the simple part about scriptable objects. So rather than calculate every damage from another code, we've already put it inside this scriptable object, and we'll just be able to use it when we come to dealing damage. Okay, so now once that is done, we have our weapon type, we have our weapon object script, and just a few more things that we need to do. So inside of our weapon manager, let's go to scripts, weapon management, and then weapon manager. So here where it says game object equipped weapon, we're going to change this, and then we're going to say weapon type, okay, equipped weapon. Then it's going to have a complaint here because it's expecting a game object when we go to the weapon to attach. So I'm going to equip weapon where we're passing the sword. Let me see. Actually, let's leave this as game object. But this sword here, let's change this guy to weapon type, and then I'm going to change this to weapon. So now here we're going to say we need to pass a game object, so we're going to say weapon dot, okay, then we're going to pass in our scriptable object, weapon object dot, then we're going to pass our weapon object. So we're getting the weapon object that we set inside our scriptable object as the one that we're going to pass here. So for each and every different weapon that we have, it's going to have its own weapon object that we can then pass here to equip. Okay, now once we're done there, let's go back to Unity, and then let's go to where our, I think it's on this guy. No, it's not, it's on this guy then. Yeah, our weapon manager here has got a weapon type. So we're going to now pass this weapon type here. But we'll get to a point where this weapon type will be selected based on the weapon that has been selected. So if we create an inventory system where there are many weapons that the player has, they might want to select a different weapon for a different scenario. So we'll give them the option to just switch out this weapon type based on the weapons that they have available. Okay, so once we've done that and we hit play, everything should still be working as normal. Hit that. Okay, so what? Bit of an error. So transform resides in prefab assets. So let's see. Okay, let's change one thing. Inside our weapon type, let's say weapon obj dot weapon object. So weapon object is equal to this dot game object. So we're going to tell it to actually get this actual game object, not any other game object. So we'll overwrite it based on what script we are putting it on. So let's see here. Okay, there we go. It's equipping. So just make that little change, and yeah, we are stuck in this. We need to deal with this next. Okay, so once we've equipped our weapon using our weapon type, so that's the only thing that we need to change. That is working. We now need to have what we call a combat mode. So basically, this is what the player will go into when they equip a weapon. So in the future, we're going to have it where there are going to be different types of combat modes. So you have a melee, you have a ranged combat mode. And then those also will be dependent on which weapon you have. So if melee, if you've got an axe or a sword, different animations will play for those particular combat modes. So in our animator, we've got our base layer here, which says locomotion, and then we've got equip weapon. Then we're going to combat mode, which has got another blend tree. Let's change this. Let's delete this. Let's come here and create a substate machine. We're going to call this, we're going to rename it and call it init for initialization. Then we're going to copy these guys and bring them, paste them in here. Okay. We're going to go back to our base layer. We're going to delete that, and it's going to go directly into our initialization substates. Then we're going to create another substate machine, and then this will be, let's say, melee. Let's say sword melee. Sword melee state. All right. So it's going to be a sword melee state. Now for this particular state, it's going to contain a blend tree. The blend tree that initially we had the plan of having. So we're going to create a state from blend tree. We're going to call this locomotion for this particular mode. Then inside here, we're also going to have the same thing that we did for the previous one. It's just going to have different animations. So it's going to be a 2D freeform Cartesian. Then we're going to have our horizontal and vertical. So let's change that to 0. Okay. So now if you've got your own animations, I would advise you to actually use your own animations, but if you don't, I'll leave some animations that you can download and use. I got them from Mixamo, so they're not very good, but you can use them for your own projects. Personally, I'm going to change them, and I'll get animations from the Unity Access Store that I'll use in my project, but for this, we're going to use those ones. So if you don't have your own animations, you can just download the ones that I'll leave. All right, let's add some motions here. We're going to create a motion field for our running back. We're going to create a motion field for our idle, and then we're going to create a motion field for our running forward. We're going to create a motion field for our strafe left, strafe right. Then we're going to, I think let's leave it there. So let's set them up. So this is for our running back. It's going to be -1 here, and 0. That's correct. Then 1. Okay. Then 1, and then strafe right and strafe left. You can make it -1 and 1 and 0, 0 and 0. Okay, so these are different motions. We need now the animations, so let's go back to our player, not to the art, but to the player control. I think that's where the animations are. Under animations, we're going to create a folder and then for this combat, so that we can also differentiate our animations. So I'm going to bring in a few animations here. Give me a minute. So I've brought in these animations. Again, you'll find them in the link below to download them. All right, so we've got the attack weapons, attack animations, then we've got the movement animations. So we're going to come here. You can look at this. This is the running back, this is the running forward, and so on and so forth. So let's come to our blend space. We're going to have the running back there. Then we're going to have I thought I would have idle. Right, I'm going to have to find the idle animation, but let's put the running forward above it. So when you are at 1 and 0 there, so directly up, then you're going to run forward. So we are going to have the strafe animation, so left and right. So if we come to strafe left, okay, that's the guy there. Strafe right, that's the guy there. So if we move our horizontal and move to 0, and then play that animation, we've got that strafing, and when we move to 1, we've got that strafing. Okay, we still need our idle animation. Let me just find where it is. Okay, bring this guy in. Let's set him up. The rig is going to be humanoid, fly, then animations. We're going to original, take into pause, and fly, and we're going to come over here, duplicate that, delete that. We don't need it, we just need the motion itself. So we're going to rename that motion to idle. So now here, where we've got idle, we're going to change that and put that as idle. Okay. Once we've set up our blend space like that, we're going to come back to it and go back to the base. We need the transition. So from our initialization, we're going to make a transition to this guy, to the state. We're going to actually go to inside the states to the locomotion state there. Okay, and then the transition is going to be based on if weapon equipped, which is the boolean, is set to true. So once weapon equipped has been set to true, that's the state that we're going to go into, that state there. So if we now play it, we'll not be stuck in an idle into that frozen animation state. When we equip the weapon, what's going on? Why are we still stuck in there? So what we're seeing is that our weapon equipped is not being set. So let's look at how our weapon manager is setting our booleans. So if we come back here, we've got our set bool, equip weapon to that. Then we're going to also, we forgot to set it here, animator dot set bool. The bool that we're going to be setting here is our weapon equipped to be the same value as equipped. Okay, it's going to be the same value as equipped. Now when we compile our script, turn that back off, we're going to notice, actually let's set it back as well. Though we haven't yet done the sheathing, it's going to go to locomotion. So what we're going to say is if the weapon equipped is false. But for now, let's see. Okay, so we have that. And when we hit our weapon equip, it's still not setting our boolean to true. Is it because we've spelled it wrongly? Yes, the spelling is wrong. It should be the exact same spelling, so we've got a capital W there. Okay, so once we've corrected those few errors, let's go back in, test it one more time, hit it. We're still not getting it. What's happening? Let's see. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to place this first boolean to above the equip variable. So we're going to say animator.set bool equip weapon to true. Then we're going to set our equip variable to true, so that then we set our weapon equip boolean to true. After which we're going to come back. So we're going to come back into our initialization here, and then we're going to say from once it's been equipped, so once equip weapon has happened, we're going to go out of this. So we could actually let's do this better. Let's just copy this, then delete it, then paste it. So we're going to come in here. Once equip weapon has happened, we're going to make a transition exit. Okay, actually don't want to do that. Yeah, anyway, let's leave it like that. Let's see how it will be. Then from the initialization, okay, let's do it from right here. We're going to base layer and then the state. So you're going to make a transition to the state locomotion. So this guy, we're going to remove him like that. So we're going to have this to the locomotion in the sword melee state. Okay, so we have it like that, and then we're going to create, let's just create it right now. We're going to create a state here, an empty state. Let's call this sheath. Okay, then from the sheath as well, we're going to make a transition to the state, initialization state, to the locomotion, and that will be our back, like that. And then the conditions for this is if do we even need a condition? I doubt, because once we play our sheath animation, it will have an exit time and return. I think it will still work just like this without us having any conditions. Let's test it out. We are in our locomotion, we equip, and then it didn't go. Alright, let's give it a condition. So from equip weapon to the base layer of the other, we're going to say if weapon equipped is equals to true. And then inside here, we're going to say if weapon equipped is equals to false. Okay, so now that should work. So equip it and it works like that. We're now inside this guy, and then we're able to move. So we can see that 1 is too much because our player looks like it's gliding, because then the strafe animations are quite slow. So what we're going to do is come inside here into our locomotion. Then inside our strafe animations, we're going to say minus 0.25 and 0.25. Okay, so they'll be much closer rather than at the full speed of 1, they'll be slower. So when we equip, and then when we move, it's too bit. They're still going to 1. I want them to go to 1. Anyway, we're going to use quicker strafe animations, but for now, we have our combat mode. So once we equip our weapon, there we go. We are in our combat mode. Okay, we're able to run forward, we're able to run backwards, run left, run right. Now there's one more thing that we need to sort out, and that is in our locomotion, in that you can see when we run backward, our player runs in the air. So we need to sort that out right now. So let's go to our player locomotion script. So we're going to go to where we're moving the player. So right here, where I move direction to normalize, before we normalize it, what we're going to say is move direction dot y is equals to 0. So we do not want any movement on our y. We don't want we don't want to move on the y-axis. We just want to move on the x and z. So if it, we're able to move back and it doesn't float away. Move that way, move that way, move that way. We've got a situation where our players' feet are in the ground, but that must just be due to the collider itself. So we'll handle that. But yeah, our player's weapon is getting equipped. We're using the correct scriptable object, so we're not just equipping an object without any data to it. It's got data that we can then use when it comes to the damage and stuff. Let's see. Okay, we've been doing this for some time, so we're going to carry on in the next one with sheathing and attacking. So this was the combat mode. We have done the combat mode. The next, and also we've done the scriptable object for our weapon. So in the next episode, we're going to do the sheathing of the weapon as well as the attacking. That one is going to be more complex because we're going to use a number of scriptable objects, but it's not going to be difficult at all. All right, so I'll see you all in the next one.